أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ألم يأن للذين آمنوا أن تخشع قلوبهم لذكر الله وما نزل من الحق ولا يكونوا كالذين أوتوا الكتاب من قبل فطال عليهم الأمد فقست قلوبهم وكثير منهم فاسقون اعلموا أن الله يحيي الأرض بعد موتها قد بينا لكم الآيات لعلكم تعقلون رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين اللهم اجعلنا منهم ومن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر آمين يا رب العالمين ثم ما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I'm really honored and also kind of weirded out that you guys waited this long. Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khairan for waiting. If I sound a little out of it, it's probably because I am. It's about 8 hours of lecture straight, alhamdulillah. But inshallah ta'ala, I'm here to just share some very brief thoughts with you about an important matter. Something that doesn't come under much discussion nowadays, but it needs our attention. It certainly needs our attention, inshallah. The thing I want to talk to you about is a culture among young Muslims who go on a certain religious journey, especially in Western society. A lot of times, Muslim youth, they live a life of, let's just say, partying, okay? And then they have an epiphany sometime in life and they turn towards the religion. A lot of youth, brothers and sisters, have this change of heart sometime in their life and they become more serious gradually about the religion. But then what happens is, when they become more serious about the religion over time, they end up becoming very serious about the religion. Very, very passionate. And they find themselves a teacher. Sometimes that teacher is a person. Sometimes that teacher is a series of MP3s or lectures. Sometimes that teacher is a website. Sometimes that teacher is a blog. Sometimes that teacher is an anonymous screen name. Right? But whatever it is, in the end, they find themselves a source that they associate as the authentic source for taking knowledge. And when they do and they become very passionate about it, slowly what starts happening is they become very rigid, become very tough. And the people around them, they don't see, they notice that the people around them are not the same way as they are. They don't acknowledge the same teacher that they acknowledge. They're not understanding the deen the way they understand themselves. So what starts happening is, first they become frustrated with the people around them, especially their family. Right? The youth starts changing, and the first people they become frustrated with is their own family. Why don't you understand? This is the right way to follow the religion. And there's more and more friction. This happens even within a Muslim family. It's even more so when you're a Muslim and your family is not Muslim, but certainly even within your family, if your family is Muslim too, but now you're kind of rediscovering the religion on your own. Right? So this friction develops. But it's not limited to the family either. What happens is you have friends. You've always been friends. But those friends didn't take this religious journey that you did. Or if they did, they didn't take the same journey that you did. Their understanding is a little different. Or they're not as rigid about certain things as you are. They're not as tough about it as you are. And it becomes harder and harder for you to tolerate that. So you start questioning them a lot more. And you come into contact with people that don't see things the way you do. And you make it a point to let them know that they're wrong, that you're right, that this is the way they should do things, there's no other way of doing things, etc. This attitude develops, especially among youth. And there are many reasons for this attitude. There are many reasons for this attitude. The youth himself or herself thinks they're doing what's called Amr bil Ma'ruf and what? Nahi anil munkar. They think they're commanding the good, forbidding the evil. After all, they're telling the brother, the sister, they're telling her a hadith, they're telling him an ayah. They're doing a good thing. This is something they should be doing. This is what's going on in their head. What they don't realize, however, is there's something more going on. There's something else going on. You know, before you become religious, maybe you are, you're the center of attention among your crew. You're a thug, you're a gang, you're whatever, right? You're the center of attention. When you turn to the religion, you no longer have that. But you need something still. There's an urge inside you to want to show your domination over others. There's an urge inside you, I want to show people that I am in some way, shape or form superior. And in this devious way, sometimes without the person even realizing it, most of the time they're telling people their religious opinion in a show of expressing their superiority. They want to make sure the other person feels like they don't really know the religion. I know the religion. Let me tell you how it's supposed to be. Let me teach you the ayah. Let me teach you the hadith. Don't you know it's this way or that way or the other way? So the religion itself becomes a means by which you promote your own ego. It's ironic because the religion was revealed so we humble ourselves. The deen came so we humble ourselves. And now we're using that very deen to express our arrogance. To express our arrogance. And this is not just something that happens among the youth, by the way. This happens among elders too. Iblis, on what occasion did he refuse Allah Azza wa Jal? He refused to make sajda, right? What job was Adam alayhi salam going to get? What high salary was Adam alayhi salam going to receive? What promotion was Adam alayhi salam getting that Iblis said, no, I'm more qualified for that job? What was the job? Allah Azza wa Jal created the human being for what purpose? Worship, right? And Adam alayhi salam, إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. He was going to be placed where? On the earth. And what was his responsibility? Service to Allah. It's a religious title. In other words, I'm putting it in simple terms. Adam alayhi salam was given a religious honor. Not a worldly honor. He wasn't given a high salary, a big house, all that. None of that stuff. He was just given a religious honor. So if you think about it, it's kind of weird. Iblis was jealous of Adam alayhi salam over a religious honor. His ego manifested because he thought he was more qualified to serve Allah's deen than Adam alayhi salam. I'm more qualified in this religious capacity. And this arrogance manifests itself when somebody says, I should be the president of the masjid. I'm the right MSA president. Why did they pick him? Why did they pick her for this task? Why didn't they pick me? This is a religious task. You're not going to get it. You don't get money when you become MSA president. You don't get any, you don't get a new car when you run the masjid. But yet you see across this country, people fighting tooth and nail over what? Religious titles. Who's in charge of the masjid? Whose opinion should be heard? Why? This is a disease that started where? It's pretty old. That virus started with Iblis. Right? He's also vying for religious authority. And this is a disease. It's at the heart of it, it is a disease. And one has to identify that disease if it exists inside themselves. When the attitude seeps inside you, thank God for me, because if it wasn't for me, I don't know, these people would have been so deviant. At least I'm here to set them straight. If that's your attitude, you've got a serious problem. You really have a serious problem. Because now you think the deen depends on who? On yourself. The deen doesn't need us. We need Allah's deen, but Allah's deen is in no need of us. Right? Wallahu ghaniyun hamid. Allah is free of need. He doesn't need us. We have to humble ourselves. And this ego, again, I'm talking about it in a religious context, but in another context, it even happens inside the family. If I die, who's going to take care of my family? Who's going to pay the bills? If I don't do it, who's going to do it? That thought comes in your mind, right? But our time of death is written. Whether you think you need to save this much money or that much money, or you need to get that promotion, or whatever you need to do, you think what you need to do. But if Allah decides, I'm gone tonight. If it's written, it's written. And you know what? After I go, my kids, my wife, my husband, whoever, Allah has already taken care of them. I should never have thought I was the one taking care of them to begin with. I wasn't the one taking care of them. Allah was. He had been all along. I was deluding myself into thinking it depended on me. Nothing depends on me. Nothing depends on me. I am not the source of any good. Allah is the source of all good. When ego is the root problem, where does ego come from? Ego comes from the source point, the starting point is when someone doesn't truly appreciate what Allah is, who Allah is. When you don't appreciate who Allah is, you replace that with an appreciation of your own self. That's where it starts. That's really what the root of the problem is. So the first point I wanted to make, really, inshallah ta'ala, is people that wear the facade of the religion. They look religious, they talk religious, they have knowledge. May Allah protect us from this. This is a very serious problem. They look more practicing than the other guy who doesn't have a beard. She looks more taqiyah than the other sister who doesn't wear hijab. They look more religious. The outwardly is very good. But on the inside there's an ego. On the inside there's an urge to show your supremacy. You are more righteous. You are more qualified. You are in a better position than the other. And in your heart, if you look down upon another Muslim, no matter what their condition, if you look down upon another Muslim, if you do that, then you have this thing inside your heart called kibr. Kibr, arrogance. And you know, we learn from the advice of the Prophet ﷺ that the one who has a mustard seed, which is basically you're saying an atom, okay, a molecule, nothing, that much of arrogance in their heart, what is not open to them? You know, right? Jannah is not open to them. Jannah is not open to them. So what I'm trying to say is, you have a Muslim who does bad things. You know, the guy drinks, whatever. He does some really bad stuff. His evil actions are outwardly. But your evil action is what? Inwardly. On the outside, you look good. You look like you're doing all right. His action is punishable for sure. For sure. You don't think yours is? And if you were to compare, even though nobody's condoning his behavior, if you were to compare, which is a bigger problem that is harder to fix? Think about that. Is arrogance a bigger problem to fix? You know why it's a bigger problem? Because you can't even see it. At least his drinking problem, you could see it. There are things you could do to address it. But this problem in here, it's a hard thing to fix, because it's deep down inside, and the only one who can sense it is who? Yourself. Nobody can tell you. If it's in there, it's in there. We can't judge any of each other. We can't judge, oh, I can, while I'm giving this talk, you're listening, you're like, I can think of somebody who's pretty arrogant right now that should be listening to this. Don't think of anyone else. That in and of itself, that's a sign of arrogance. Who should you be thinking of? Yourself. The counsel of the religion is not for anyone else first. Who is it for first? Yourself. We've become so desensitized that the religious or the counsel of the Qur'an, the counsel of the great words of the Messenger ﷺ, that counsel is for everybody else. Wait till I tell them what I just heard. Well, who was supposed to hear it first? Who was supposed to internalize it first? You yourself. You got to think about that. We become very selfish and self-centered and self-serving when it comes to Allah's religion. You know, the husband hears a hadith about the rights of the wife or the rights of the husband. What's the first thing he does? Hey, you know what I heard today? Let me tell you. The parent, what is the first ayah he tells his child? وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. Be the best to your parents. Isn't that self-serving? Are we here to serve ourselves? Is the religion here to serve our needs? Or are we here to serve Allah's deen? Right? It's a change of attitude. It's a completely different attitude. So this is the first problem, ego, that I wanted to bring to your attention. Something that only you can gauge in yourself. Nobody else can gauge that for you. But if that's there, no matter how much good is there on the outside, does it amount to anything? No, because your heart is not sound. And Allah says on the Day of Judgment, إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. With the exception of none except those who come before Allah with a sound heart. With a sound heart. Right? So we have to fix this thing on the inside, this ego on the inside. I'm going to give you, before I go to the second point, just give you some tips on how to tell if you have an ego problem. Just some basic tips. If somebody corrects you, right, and you get really offended, really how could you say that to me, bro? Why would you say that to me? Who do you think you are? Who does that guy think he is? He's correcting me like that. If that's your first reaction, then you have an ego problem. Even if that guy is being, I don't want to use bad language, okay? He's not right. He shouldn't have said what he said to you. Your first reaction should not be, who is he to talk to me?